One of my favorite videos on the internet, and one that was really fun to make the first time around, was actually ranking my favorite watch brands and doing essentially what is a tier list of the best watch brands and the worst watch brands in the world today. So today I'm going to present to you an updated tier list in 2025 ahead of Watches and Wonders, looking forward to seeing what all the brands release. And of course, we'll see if it changes after the releases. So let's get right into it. So guys, as I mentioned, I'm going to be ranking a tier list, and as always with tier lists, it's going to have a lot of personal bias. Now, what am I going to impact my decision making on? Well, for me personally, what is really important is the overall build quality and construction of the watch, right? How much hand finishing goes into it, how much complication the brand is known for or not. Maybe they're known for simpler watch, but overall, it's really going to be the amount of handwork done in the actual wristwatch, or if it's, for example, industrially made. But of course, in some cases, personal bias is going to come into play where I just like a brand because they have a number of designs that I enjoy. And of course, I'll specify all of these reasons. So let's start with number one, A. Lange & Söhne. This is going to be a very obvious S tier brand. I don't think it needs any reasoning why. One of the best brands in the world, along with Akrivia as well, which is also going to be an S tier brand. I would love to see Rexha focus on more complications. Of course, he's done many great things in his very short career already, but overall, Akrivia, no question about it, S tier brand, as well as Audemars Piguet. Now, I wasn't the biggest fan of the releases so far in 2025, of course, with that new perpetual calendar movement. Overall, I just feel these are a bit bland considering what we got in recent years, or in past years rather. So yeah, overall, I would still put them in S tier, even though I didn't love the releases so far. Ball, I would put in the C tier overall. Not a bad watch brand, a great price point, good designs, but just not my thing. Likewise with Baltic, I think with Baltic, the watch brand itself is phenomenal. I love what they're doing overall, creating some amazing watches at accessible price points, but overall, I think it's fair to put them in the C tier. I would say Baume & Mercier is slightly a tier above of both of those, so I would actually put them in the B tier, the lower end of B tier, but I think overall they're pretty good. Bell & Ross is just not my thing. Again, personal bias is going to come into play into this list. Their designs just don't speak to me at all. And so for that reason, I'm going to put them in C tier. Of course, Blancpain, I think I put in B tier last time, which upset a lot of people. I think in terms of finishing, quality of finishing, and all that kind of good stuff, I'm going to put them in A tier. It's where they probably belong, even though personally, I just have so much, personal affliction with Blancpain, because at the end of the day, there's so much that they can do right, and yet they just continue to do all the wrong things, in my opinion. And I think that's true about all the Swatch brands, or the high-end ones at least, Blancpain, Breguet, and Jacques Drouot, where, you know, the lower-end stuff, Tissot, Hamilton, Omega, are run really seamlessly and amazingly. Even Longines, for example, has been killing it of late. But it just seems like those higher-end Swatch brands just can't seem to get people to love them. And, you know, unfortunately, it just doesn't seem like the end is in sight. Of course, Breguet for me is going to be an S tier brand. How can I not put probably one of, if not the most important watch brands of all time in the S tier? Just an amazing watch brand, and they are just phenomenal. Of course, Breitling, I'm going to put probably in the B tier, the higher end B tier. You can even argue they should be in A tier, probably on the lower end of A tier. I'll keep them in A, and then we'll go over this list at the end of it. Bulgari, good for me, is going to be an easy A tier. Amazing complication, amazing watchmaking. Overall, I just don't see them in the higher end S tier overall yet. Below it for me is going to be in the C tier. I think it's a pretty obvious one. Price point wise, you know, these are pretty kind of easy to manufacture watches for the most part that don't have that much hand finishing, although the design is really, really nice. So yeah, below it for me is going to be C tier. Cartier is also going to be A tier. I think no question about it, that's where they belong. Casio for me is going to be in the B tier. I think what they offer just in terms of overall price point, generally speaking, I mean, you can even make the argument for what it is, right? It's in the A or S tier, just because they're probably the kings of value, right? You look at the Casio calculators, or really any of their indestructible watches, I think they perform a function that is unlike pretty much anything else. And I think certainly at their price points, they're some of the best values out there. But for now, I'm just going to keep them at the B tier. Certina is also going to hit the B tier, although I don't really care for the brand personally. It's not something I'm really invested in. But yeah, I think their watch quality overall is actually not that bad. Chanel for me is going to be an A-tier brand. If you look at their higher end Chanel line, that's actually done by an independent watchmaker by the name of Romain Gaultier. which is really, really high end. Of course, they have some entry level stuff that doesn't meet the bar, I would say, of A tier. But overall, I'm looking at the kind of Chanel high horology, and I'm going to rank them in A tier because of that. Chopard, I would actually put either in the lower end S tier or the higher end A tier. I think I'm going to put them in the lower end S tier. I think it's one of those underappreciated brands, actually, that definitely deserves a lot more credit than they get just for how much handwork goes into their watches. And I think overall, they're some of the most artistic watches out there. All right, I got to speed run through a couple of these. Christopher Ward for me is a C tier easily. Citizen is also a C tier. Credo for me is actually going to go in the S tier. I think one of the absolute best brands out there, Japanese watchmaking at its finest, absolutely beautiful timepieces. Chopek is an easy A tier for me. They're not at that high end independent, but they're a great overall watch for the price point especially. And I just feel that I wish that they would make a lot less watches and would focus on higher end finishing, and that would really help elevate them and take them to the next level. And I'd say that also about H. Moser, for example. I think they make some amazing complication, but they make way too many watches that are far too mass produced, and I wish that they would reduce their overall their overall production numbers and actually focus on high end finishing instead. De Bethune, easy S tier for me. Doxa is going to be a quick C. Actually, I'm going to put Doxa in the B tier. I love their designs overall, something that I'm personally biased towards. Ebel is going to be an easy C tier. FP Journe, of course, an S tier brand. How can you bet against probably the greatest living watchmaker in the world today? Frank Muller for me, although it deserves to be probably an A tier. Some of their watchmaking is actually spectacular. For me, the brand just does next to nothing for me. So I'm just going to put them in B tier. Who really cares? Just not my thing personally. I don't see it. Frederic Constant, I'm going to put in the B tier overall. Even though they have some amazing watches at amazing price points, they're probably a higher end of the B tier. I just wouldn't put them up there in the A tier quite yet, in my opinion. Gerard Perregaux, an easy A tier, although again, this is a brand that does next to nothing for me. I'm not a big fan of the Laureato or any of their really dress watches, but I'm not really a big fan of the Laureato or really any of their dress watches either. But overall, it's hard to deny the incredible watchmaking of GP, one of those forgotten about great watchmakers out there. I certainly think they deserve to be in the A tier. Glashütte for me is going to be a very easy high-end A tier. Even you can make the argument because of a lot of their higher-end timepieces and the amount of complications they're able to produce, they can be in the S tier. I would say, again, they belong in the A tier overall. I think they have some of the best value for money watchmaking in the entire watch industry, bar none, even ahead of, for example, Grand Seiko. I think the amount of handwork that goes into their watches, the complications they're able to achieve at their price point is simply spectacular. Grand Seiko, I'm going to put, of course, at the A tier. How can I not? I think Grand Seiko makes, again, some incredible value for money timepieces. I actually enjoy a lot of their spring drive movements. I would say this, I was a big hater on the spring drive in the beginning just because it's kind of a Frankenstein mechanical wristwatch in the sense that it uses a quartz regulator. But I think it's interesting technology and the accuracy they're able to achieve while still maintaining kind of the integrity of the mechanical wristwatch while using, of course, quartz technology is really spectacular. It's very ingenious. And Grand Seiko is a brand I've definitely started to appreciate a lot more, especially as I've handled more of their timepieces. Grunfeld for me, again, another very easy S tier brand, one of the best in the world. Hamilton S is going to be a B tier brand, of course. Hermes, if I had to rank them, again, Hermes High Horology is one of the most slept on brands out there. Now, for their lower end type pieces, they're going to use Vaucher movements, which of course is owned by the Parmigiani Group, like for example in the Hermes H08. But at the higher end, they're going to use their own proprietary in-house movements, which again are spectacular, very, very well made watches overall. And I definitely think that they deserve to be in the A. H. Moser, of course, is going to be in the A tier for me. I think that they make amazing watches. They just need to reduce how many they make and really focus in on high-end finishing to really get to that next level, in my opinion. Hublot, I know people love to hate on Hublot. I'm going to actually put them in the B tier. I think you can even argue that the high-end Hublots, particularly on the secondary market, are some of the most interesting complications out there. And also come at a great price point. But overall, how can you deny, of course, their entry-level stuff just being a little overpriced for what it is? And so for that reason, I'm going to put them at B tier, but I'm really not a big hater on the Hublot brand overall. Of course, Invicta belongs in F tier. I think that's where it was made to live in for forever and perpetually. A tier for IWC, of course, how can you not put them there? an amazing watchmaker, and I just absolutely love their overall timepieces. Jago LeCoultre, again, another amazing A-tier watchmaker. Just amazing timepieces. I'm a big fan of the new medium reverso. I wish that they will come out with more variations of it, like for example the tribute to 1931. If they did an all black version in that medium case size, I am a sucker for it and I want it. You can sign me up. Laurent Ferrier, of course, is going to be an S-tier brand, one of the best watchmakers out there, somebody who worked at Patek for multiple decades making minute repeaters for the brand. So, how can you discredit his incredible ingenuity and watchmaking prowess? Longines is a very easy B tier for me, an amazing brand. Louis Aurard, again, is going to be another B tier brand. Amazing watches, amazing price point overall, and great designs as well. Working with some different independent watchmakers makes them really interesting in my opinion. Now, this is a brand I got a lot of hate for because I put them in the F tier alongside Invicta, and that is Maine. Okay, I will not make that mistake again. I know a lot of people really enjoy the brand. Fair enough. Their timepieces are somewhat interesting. They're not personally to my taste, so I would just put them in the C tier. I would personally go for something like Hamilton or Tissot instead, but overall, they pack a lot of value for money, and I think their timepieces are pretty interesting, and so they definitely didn't deserve the F rating I gave them last time, but I think in the C tier, it is a great and fair rating. And the B tier is going to be Maurice Lacroix. I think Maurice Lacroix is a great watch brand, but there's a lot of things that they can improve to be more commercially successful, but overall, I think they are pretty interesting, but B tier is where they belong. MB&F, my favorite brand out there, is going to, of course, be an S tier. How can I not put them there? Mito is going to be, I think in C tier is a fair rating, although you can probably make the argument that they belong all the way up in B tier. For now, let me put them in B tier actually, because I do enjoy their timepieces, and I think they're definitely a step above somebody like Hamilton, even though their designs don't speak to me like Hamilton does. Now, Montblanc is a tough one. As you may know, I have a lot of personal bias for the brand. Of course, their entry-level stuff is nothing spectacular. For the most part, they just use kind of off-the-shelf movements. However, their high-end stuff, the Minerva chronographs, I've owned multiple of them. I still own one in my collection today, are some of the best bargains you can find out there on the market. I mean, we're talking about under $20,000 for a manual winding, of course, a chronograph, but a mono pusher chronograph at that. But again, considering the fact that they make those entry-level timepieces, I'm going to put them at the B tier. I think that's a fair rating overall. Again, it's a brand I'm personally biased towards. I've owned multiples of their mono pusher chronos. I think those are some of the absolute best bargains on the watch market today. Nomos for me is going to be, again, a very easy B tier, on the higher end of the B tier. But yeah, just an amazing watchmaker overall. Omega, again, very easily an A tier wristwatch and brand overall. I think although they are industrially made, I think what they are able to achieve in the sports watch range and even in the dress watch range with, for example, their new chronograph minute repeater or even their tourbillon wristwatches, they are a very high-end watchmaker that definitely do deserve respect. But if you look at their sports watches in terms of robustness, accuracy, quality of materials, quality of engineering, reliability of their movements, their accuracy, the fact that they're MEDAS certified, all of these things for me are very important. Okay, is it finished to the same level, for example, as Grand Seiko? No, there's a lot less hand finishing. However, when we talk about reliability, accuracy, durability of the actual movement, it's a lot more reliable, no question about it, than say, for example, a Grand Seiko, which in my opinion is, again, a great watch. Doesn't have the accuracy of quartz or spring drive that Grand Seiko makes, but if you're comparing the mechanical wristwatches from both brands, there's no question Omega is made to a higher level in a sense of reliability and accuracy, no question about it. Now, of course, when it comes to Orient, they're going to be an easy C-tier brand. That is no doubt where they belong. Oris is going to be a B-tier brand. Great watches overall. I just think that that's where they belong. Panerai is going to be an easy... I think I'll put them in A tier. Again, although they are mass produced, they do make some higher level complications, chronographs, minute repeaters, tourbillon GMTs, perpetual calendars also. They make a lot of impressive complications that are worthy of people taking note of, and so I would actually put them in the A tier. I don't think that they belong in the B tier. I think that would be a very unfair rating. Likewise with Parmigiani Fleurier, although they don't get the love that they deserve, in my opinion, for their timepieces, especially on the secondary market, I think there's no question they're one of the best watchmakers out there, making a range of great looking watches. Particularly, I love the new Toric, but I wish it was at a way less price point. I mean, the Platinum Toric should be like $30,000 or less at retail, not $50,000. I think $50,000 is just way too expensive for what it is. Of course, Patek Philippe is going to be an easy S-tier brand. Nothing really needs to be said about that. Piaget for me is going to also be an S tier brand. I would say on the lower end of the S tier brand, just because I don't know if they compare to like higher end independents or Patek Philippe, for example, but I think that there's no question about it, what they're able to do in terms of the thinness of their watches, the complications, right? Tourbillons, perpetual calendars, minute repeaters, and the like. There's some of the best watchmaking out there on the market, and I love their aesthetically. I love a lot of their watches, particularly with stone dials, and I love the new Polo. I think it's a phenomenal timepiece overall. As for Rado, I think Rado is going to belong in the B tier. I think that's just essentially where it should be. Resence is never a brand I really vibe with. We're actually an authorized dealer for Resence, and their watches are interesting. They're cool, and of course they're different than most watches out there on the market. Just not my thing overall. I'm going to put them in the B tier, even though the quality is very good. RGM, again, another B tier brand. Nothing that speaks to me in that lineup. So again, personal bias at play. Richard Mille, very easily an S tier brand. Although a lot of the time, I would say that, especially in recent years, the last decade or so, the innovation just isn't there with Richard Mille. They still should be respected as an S tier brand, no question about it. And likewise with Roger Dubuis, of course, how can you not respect them as an S tier brand? Next up, Seiko, of course, how can you not put Seiko right alongside Hamilton in terms of value? So it's going to be a B tier brand for me. Just like Zin. Zin is a great B tier brand overall, as well as Tag Heuer, although they make tourbillon wristwatches and things like that. I don't think that's what Tag Heuer is known for. I would put them at the higher end of the B tier. Of course, Timex, amazing value for money. I would put them in C tier. Again, if I'm qualifying them in terms of like hand finishing, handwork, and all that kind of stuff, it's just not a brand that's there overall. The price point is solid. Of course, the value for money is fantastic, but it's just not a brand that really speaks to me in terms of just its overall value proposition or its models generally. So for me, it's a C tier brand. Tissot, of course, is going to go right along with Hamilton in the B tier. Trilobe, although an interesting watchmaker, again, it's one of those personal biases. Their watches don't really do too much for me. So for me, it's going to be a B tier brand. Doesn't mean the quality isn't there. Just like with Resence, I think the quality is there, and RGM for that matter. The quality is definitely there in their timepieces. They're just brands I'm personally not that interested in overall. Tudor, I am going to put in the lower end of the A tier. How can you not put Tudor in the lower end A tier? I think it's where they belong, of course. Well, I just realized I put Rolex in the F tier by accident. Totally my fault. Of course, Rolex does not belong in the F tier. It is going to be in the A tier where it belongs. Some of the most reliably built sports watches out there on the market. Of course, I'm going to do the same with Ulysse Nardin. I'm going to put them in the A tier. As for Unimatic, no question about it. That is going to be in the C tier. Vacheron Constantin in the S tier. Zenith is going to go in the I'll put them in the A tier. That's probably where they belong. And Zodiac, I am going to put in the B tier. Overall, I look at this list. I think this is a pretty fair ranking. Again, if we're going off of the fact that I'm considering these watches in terms of the handwork, the hand finishing that goes into them, of course, the incredible level of complications they're able to achieve, and just generally, in some cases, personal bias as to whether I like their designs or not as compared to other brands. But guys, let me know what you think of my list down below, the updated 2025 brand tier list. Always fun to make these videos, and of course, get your feedback down in the comments below because as you know, it's going to be a controversial one, so I look forward to reading the comments on this one. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit the like button, subscribe for more videos like this in the future. As always, my name is Marco for the Burdines Jewelry YouTube channel, and I'll see you guys in the next